The punch came fast. Professional. Perfect technique. It hit nothing but air. Lance Porter, black belt, head instructor, confident and cocky, threw another strike. Then another. All of them missed. The janitor he was trying to humiliate hadn't even moved his feet. That's when Lance realized he'd made a terrible mistake, because the man standing across from him, the quiet 42-year-old who mopped floors and took out trash, wasn't just a janitor. He was a ghost, a legend, a 5-time world champion who'd been hiding in plain sight for 20 years. And in the next 30 seconds, everything Lance thought he knew about respect, about strength, about martial arts, was about to be destroyed. This is a silent storm. And this is how one man changed everything. You know what's funny about people? We walk past strangers every single day. The person serving our coffee. The man collecting our trash. The woman mopping floors after we've gone home. We see them, sure. But do we really see them? We don't ask about their stories. We don't wonder about their past. We just assume. Assume they've always been there, in that role, doing that job. Invisible. But here's the thing about invisible people. Sometimes they're invisible by choice. Sometimes they have a story so heavy, so painful, that disappear becomes the only way to survive. This is a story about one of those people. His name is Ethan Cole. And on one humid Thursday evening in Atlanta, Georgia, his carefully hidden past was about to collide with the present in a way that would change everything. It's 9:45 p.m. at Eastside Combat Academy, and the building is almost empty. Almost. The overhead lights cast long shadows across the training floor. The smell of sweat and cleaning solution hangs in the air. That distinct gym smell that never really goes away, no matter how much you scrub. Ethan Cole pushes a mop across the blue mats, moving in slow, steady strokes. Back and forth. Back and forth. There's a rhythm to it. Something almost meditative. He's been doing this for 3 weeks now. 3 weeks of arriving after everyone leaves. 3 weeks of erasing the evidence of other people's dreams. He's 42 years old, but he moves with a careful deliberateness that makes him seem older. Or maybe it's not age. Maybe it's just weight. The kind you can't see but can feel radiating off someone like heat. Ethan wears the same thing every night. A plain gray t-shirt, dark blue work pants, worn sneakers that have seen better days. His hair is cut short, practical. Nothing about him draws attention. Nothing about him says, "Look at me." And that's exactly how he wants it. He moves to the mirrors now, spraying cleaner and wiping in circular motions. For just a moment, he catches his own reflection. Dark eyes stare back at him. Tired eyes, haunted eyes. He looks away quickly, like he's seen a ghost. Because, in a way, he has. The ghost of who he used to be. See, Ethan Cole hasn't always been invisible. There was a time when his name meant something. When cameras followed him. When crowds chanted for him. When he was somebody. But that was another life. Another version of himself that he buried a long time ago. 20 years ago, to be exact. 20 years since the night that changed everything. 20 years since he held his best friend's hand and watched the light leave his eyes. 20 years since he made a promise, a vow, that he would never fight again. Never. Again. Ethan shakes his head, pushing the memory down where it belongs. Deep, buried. He focuses on the mirrors, on the simple act of making them shine. There's comfort in simplicity, in tasks that have clear beginnings and endings. He lives in a small studio apartment 15 minutes from here. One room, a mattress on the floor, a hot plate, a few books. That's it. That's his whole world now. Work, home, sleep, repeat. No friends. No family, not anymore. His little sister Alicia was the last thread connecting him to his old life, and she was taken from him 12 years ago in a police raid that went horribly wrong. Wrong place, wrong time. Story of his life. So now he's alone. And alone is safer. Alone means no one gets hurt because of him. He finishes with the mirrors and heads to the trash cans, pulling out the bags with practiced efficiency. As he works, he can hear voices from the back of the gym. An advanced class running late. Ethan's jaw tightens. He prefers it when the building is empty, prefers not having to navigate around people, to make himself small, to avoid eye contact. But he also can't help himself. As he carries the trash bags toward the exit, his eyes drift to the class. 12 students, all wearing their GI uniforms, all focused on the man at the front. Lance Porter, 6'2", lean and muscular, with the kind of confidence that fills a room. He's demonstrating a combination, jab, cross, hook, uppercut, and his students mirror him with varying degrees of success. Lance moves like water, each strike flowing into the next with technical perfection. Ethan watches for just a moment. His trained eye catches everything. Lance's form is excellent, really excellent. His hip rotation is textbook. His weight distribution is precise. But there's something else Ethan notices. Something in the way Lance corrects his students. The sharp tone, the impatient gestures, the way he singles out the weaker ones and makes examples of them. There's skill there, yes, but there's also ego. And ego, Ethan knows, is the most dangerous thing a fighter can carry. More dangerous than any opponent. Lance Porter has built a reputation at East Side Combat Academy. He's the golden boy, the head instructor everyone wants to train with. He's charismatic, technically brilliant, and he knows it. His students admire him. Some even worship him. But if you look closely, really closely, you can see something else in their eyes. Fear, not the healthy kind of fear that comes from respecting a skilled teacher. No, this is different. This is the fear of being humiliated, of being made small in front of your peers. One of Lance's students, a young woman with her hair pulled back in a tight ponytail, steps forward to demonstrate the combination. She's good, really good. Her name is Maya Kim, 22 years old, purple belt, studying sports psychology at Georgia State University. Maya moves through the combination with precision, but Lance stops her halfway through. No, he says, shaking his head. Your chamber is too low on the hook. You're telegraphing. Anyone with half a brain could see that coming a mile away. Maya nods, her jaw set. Yes, coach. She tries again. Better this time. But Lance still isn't satisfied. Better, he says, the word dripping with faint praise. But still not good enough for competition. You want to compete, Maya? Or do you just want to look like you train? Something flickers across Maya's face. Not anger. Something deeper. Something sadder. But she bows her head and says, I want to compete, coach. Then act like it. Ethan feels his hands tighten around the trash bags. He doesn't know Maya. Doesn't know any of these students. But something about the exchange bothers him. Reminds him of something. Of bullies in his childhood. Of people who use their power to make others feel small. Of everything his sister Alicia taught him to stand against. He forces himself to look away and continues toward the exit. Not his business. Not his fight. Not anymore. He dumps the trash in the dumpster outside, letting the Atlanta humidity wrap around him like a wet blanket. It's October, but the South doesn't care about calendars. It's still hot, still thick. When he comes back inside, he notices something that makes his stomach drop. The class is still going, and Lance is looking directly at him. There's a smile on Lance's face, not a friendly one. Ethan knows that look. He's seen it before in 100 different faces. It's the look of someone who's found their entertainment for the evening. Hey! Lance's voice cuts across the gym. Hey, Janitor. Ethan considers pretending he didn't hear, but 12 pairs of eyes are now on him. There's no escape. He stops, straightens, and turns. Yes, sir. Lance walks toward him, his students following like a wake behind a boat. There's swagger in his step, performance in his posture. You ever seen a real fight before? Lance asks, loud enough for everyone to hear. I mean, you work here. You watch us train. But have you ever actually, done anything? The students shift uncomfortably. Some of them won't meet Ethan's eyes. Ethan keeps his voice calm, neutral. No, sir, I'm just here to clean. Trying to finish my shift. Just here to clean, Lance repeats, mocking the words. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. He looks back at his students. You hear that? Just here to clean. Some people know their place, right? A few nervous laughs. Most of the students are quiet now, sensing that something about this isn't right. Maya, standing near the back, crosses her arms. Her expression is troubled. Lance turns back to Ethan, circling him now like a predator. You know what? I think we should give you an education. A little demonstration. Show you what we do here. What real martial artists look like. I appreciate the offer, Ethan says quietly, but I really need to finish. Oh, come on, man. One round. Just a little sparring. Light contact. Nothing serious. Lance spreads his hands like he's being generous. Unless... He pauses for effect. Unless you're scared? The words hang in the air, and Ethan feels something stir inside him. Something he's kept locked away for 2 decades. Something that remembers what it feels like to be challenged, to be disrespected, to be provoked. But he pushes it down, breathes, lets it go. I'm not scared, he says softly. I'm just not interested. Lance's smile widens. Not interested. Right. Well, let me tell you something, friend. In this gym, we don't just watch martial arts. We do martial arts. We're doers. Not. He gestures at Ethan's mop and bucket. Not cleaners. There it is. The thing Lance has been dancing around this whole time. The real message beneath his words. You're beneath us. You don't belong. Know your place. Ethan has heard it before. Different words, same message. From coaches who told him he'd never make it. From opponents who underestimated him. From a world that judged him by where he came from instead of who he was. And usually he lets it slide off him. Usually he's gotten good at being invisible. But tonight, something is different. Maybe it's the way Maya is looking at her coach. Disappointed, disillusioned. Maybe it's the way the other students are uncomfortable but silent, afraid to speak up. Or maybe it's the memory of Alicia, his baby sister, who never stayed quiet when something was wrong. Alicia, who paid the price for speaking up. Alicia, who would be ashamed if she saw him now, standing here, taking this. Ethan's hands tighten on the mop handle, and Lance notices. Oh! Lance says, grinning wider now. There we go. There's some fire in there, after all. What do you say, Janitor? You want to show us what you got? Or are you going to hide behind that mop? The students are all watching now, waiting. The gym has gone completely quiet except for the hum of the ventilation system. Ethan looks at Lance, really looks at him, and what he sees is a young man who's never been truly tested, who's built his confidence on the backs of people who can't fight back, who mistakes cruelty for strength. What he sees is someone who needs to learn a lesson. But the question is Ethan the one to teach it? Can he break his vow? Can he fight again, even for the right reasons? Should he? Come on, Lance says, stepping closer. His voice drops lower, more menacing. Don't make me ask again. And that's when Maya steps forward. Coach, she says, her voice clear and firm. Coach, stop. This isn't right. He's just doing his job. You're making everyone uncomfortable. Every head turns to look at her. Lance's expression darkens. Excuse me? You heard me, Maya says, and Ethan can see her hand shaking slightly, but her voice doesn't waver. This is bullying. This isn't what martial arts is supposed to be about. You taught us that respect comes first. So why aren't you showing any? For a long moment, no one moves. Then Lance laughs. A cold, hard laugh. You're in my class, Maya. If you don't like how I teach, there's the door. Maybe you're not cut out for this level of training after all. The threat is clear. Step out of line and you're out. Maya's face flushes, but she doesn't back down. She looks at Ethan, and something passes between them, an understanding, a shared recognition of what it means to stand up when it's hard, when it costs something. And in that moment, Ethan makes his decision, not because he wants to fight, not because he wants to prove anything, but because a young woman with courage just stood up for him, just like his sister would have. And he will not let her stand alone. All right, Ethan says quietly, setting down his mop. 1 round. Light contact. Then I finish my shift, and we all go home. Lance's eyes light up with victory. Now we're talking. The students form a circle. Some pull out their phones. This is about to become a story they'll tell for years. Ethan walks to the center of the mat. His movements are slow, unhurried. He rolls his shoulders once, twice, and for just a moment, just a flash, something changes in his posture. Something that's been sleeping for 20 years. Lance sees it and mistakes it for nervousness. But Maya, watching carefully with her psychology student's eye for body language, sees something else entirely. She sees a man who knows exactly what he's doing. She sees a man who's done this before. Many, many times before. Lance bounces on his toes, warming up, showing off. "Remember," he says, grinning. "Light contact." Ethan just nods, says nothing. The gym goes silent. And in that silence, you can almost hear it. The distant rumble of a storm. A silent storm. One that's been quiet for far too long. You ever have one of those moments where time seems to slow down, where everything gets crystal clear, and you can feel something big about to happen? That's where we left Ethan Cole, standing in the center of a training mat, surrounded by students with their phones out, facing down an arrogant instructor who thinks he's about to embarrass a janitor. But here's what Lance Porter doesn't know. Here's what none of them know. The man standing across from him isn't just a janitor. He's a ghost, and ghosts of stories. Inside Ethan's mind, 20 years collapse into a single moment. He's not standing in East Side Combat Academy anymore. He's in Tokyo, Madison Square Garden, Sao Paulo, under bright lights, with thousands of voices chanting his name. Silent storm, silent storm, silent storm. He's 22 years old again, invincible, untouchable. 5-time world champion, undefeated. The fighter everyone feared because he didn't just beat you. He made you look like you'd never trained a day in your life. They called him the Silent Storm because he never talked trash, never boasted, never celebrated. He just walked into the cage, did what needed to be done, and walked out. Efficient, devastating, silent. But then he sees another face. Marcus Thompson, his best friend, his training partner, his brother in everything but blood. Marcus, with his huge smile and his terrible jokes. Marcus, who always had his back. Marcus, who pushed him to be better, to be greater. Marcus, lying on a training mat with blood pooling beneath his head. It was supposed to be just sparring, just practice. But Ethan threw a kick, a spinning back kick he'd done 1,000 times before. Marcus moved wrong, zigged when he should have zagged. The heel caught him perfectly, terribly, right at the temple. He was dead before the ambulance arrived. 23 years old, gone. And Ethan, standing over him, watching the life drain from his best friend's eyes, made a promise right there. Never again. I'll never fight again. He walked away from everything that day. The titles, the money, the fame, all of it. Because what's the point of being the best when the cost is measured in the people you love? Then there's Alicia, baby sister, fierce. Fearless Alicia, who was only 16 when teenage Ethan was getting bullied at school. She was the one who stepped between him and the kids who made fun of him for being poor, for wearing second-hand clothes, for being quiet. "Leave my brother alone," she'd say, all 4'11" of her, hands on her hips, "or you'll deal with me." She never backed down. Never. Years later, she was at a friend's apartment, wrong place, wrong time, when police raided it looking for someone else. In the chaos, in the confusion, in the tragedy of it all, Alicia caught a bullet meant for someone who wasn't even there. 24 years old. Gone. Ethan has lost everyone he's ever loved. Everyone who mattered. So he became invisible. Because invisible people don't lose anyone. They don't have anyone to lose. But now, standing here, watching Maya's face, this young woman who stood up when no one else would, he sees Alicia, different person, same courage, and he realizes maybe being invisible isn't about protection. Maybe it's about cowardice. Maybe Alicia would be ashamed of who he's become. The thought cuts deeper than any strike ever could. "You ready, Janitor?" Lance asks, bouncing on the balls of his feet. He's warmed up now, loose, confident. Last chance to back out. Ethan doesn't respond. He just stands there, hands at his sides, breathing slowly. In, out, in, out. Lance mistakes the silence for fear. Big mistake. All right then, Lance says, your funeral. He moves forward, closing the distance. The students lean in, phones recording. This is the moment they've been waiting for. Lance throws the first punch. A quick jab to test the waters. Fast, clean, technical. It hits nothing but air. Ethan's head moves just slightly, maybe 3 inches, and the punch passes harmlessly by. Lance frowns. Lucky dodge. He throws another jab. Then another. Both miss. Ethan hasn't moved his feet. He's barely moved at all. Just tiny adjustments of his head, his shoulders, his centerline. Minimum movement. Maximum efficiency. Now Lance's competitive instincts kick in. He throws a combination. Jab, cross, hook. The same combination he was teaching his class earlier. Perfect technique. Powerful. Precise. None of it lands. Ethan flows around the strikes like water around stones. No wasted energy. No panic. Just pure economical movement. And his expression? Calm. Almost sad. Like he's done this so many times before that it's boring. Maya's eyes widen. She's studying sports psychology. She's analyzed hundreds of fights, thousands of hours of footage. And she knows that what she's watching isn't luck. This is mastery. This is muscle memory built over decades. Who I ask this man? Lance is breathing harder now. Frustration creeping in. He's the head instructor. He's the black belt. He's the one who's supposed to be in control. But right now, he can't even touch the janitor. Stop running. Lance shouts, and there's an edge of desperation in his voice now. Stand and fight. Ethan finally speaks, his voice quiet but clear. I'm not running. And he isn't. He hasn't taken a single step backward. He stayed in the exact same spot, just moving around the attacks like smoke. Lance snarls and lunges forward with a wild right hook, putting real power behind it. This isn't light contact anymore. This is ego. This is pride. This is a man who can't stand being made to look foolish. The hook comes in fast and hard. And Ethan catches it. Just catches it. Mid-air, like plucking a ball out of the sky. Lance's fist is completely stopped, wrapped in Ethan's hand. And Lance pulls, tries to yank his arm back. It doesn't move. It's like his fist is trapped in concrete. The students gasp. One of them whispers, "Holy." Lance looks at Ethan, and for the first time, there's fear in his eyes. Real fear, because he's just realized something. He's not fighting a janitor. He's fighting something else entirely. Ethan releases Lance's fist and steps back. "That's enough," he says quietly. "You wanted a demonstration. You got one. Now apologize to Maya. Apologize to your students. And apologize to yourself for forgetting what martial arts is really about." Lance's face flushes red. Humiliation and anger wore across his features. "You," Lance spits. "You're going to teach me? You're going to tell me what martial arts is about?" He's shouting now, all pretense of control gone. "I'm a black belt. I've been training for 15 years. I've competed nationally. And you're a janitor. You clean floors. So don't you dare." He swings again. Wild. Angry. Sloppy. Ethan sees it coming a mile away. He sees the telegraphing in Lance's shoulders. The overextension in his hips. The loss of balance in his stance. He sees all of it because he's seen it 10,000 times before. And in that moment, Ethan makes a choice. Not to hurt, not to destroy, but to teach. His hand moves. A single, controlled palm strike to Lance's chest. It looks gentle, almost soft, but the result is devastating. Lance flies backward like he's been hit by a car. His feet actually leave the ground. He crashes on the mat 6 feet away, the impact driving all the air from his lungs. He lies there, gasping, unable to breathe, eyes wide with shock. The students are frozen. Phones are shaking in their hands. Ethan walks over to where Lance is struggling to breathe and looks down at him, not with anger, not with satisfaction, with sadness. "Control isn't about strength," Ethan says softly. It's about knowing when not to use it. He extends a hand to help Lance up. Lance slaps it away, gasping, Don't touch me. Ethan nods and steps back. Maya's already on her phone, fingers flying across the screen. Her face has gone pale. She's searching something, typing frantically. Then she stops. Her hand goes to her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispers. The students closest to her lean in. What is it?" Maya's voice is shaking as she reads aloud from her phone. Ethan Cole, known in the mixed martial arts world as the Silent Storm, 5-time world champion across 3 weight divisions, retired undefeated with a professional record of 47 wins, 0 losses. 32 of those wins by knockout. The gym goes completely silent. Maya keeps reading, her voice getting quieter. Cole retired suddenly in 2005 following the accidental death of his training partner and best friend Marcus Thompson during a sparring session. Cole never fought professionally again and disappeared from public life. His current whereabouts are unknown. She looks up from her phone, straight at Ethan. "Until now," she whispers. Every phone in the room is now searching his name. Within seconds, the students are finding old fight videos, compilations, highlight reels, interviews. They're watching a younger Ethan Cole, powerful, fluid, unstoppable, dismantling opponents who look helpless against him. One student holds up his phone, and they can all hear the commentator's voice. And Cole just makes it look easy. His opponent can't touch him. It's like fighting a ghost. The Silent Storm lives up to his name. Lance is sitting up now, still struggling to catch his breath. He looks at Ethan, and the color drains from his face. He's just tried to bully a living legend. He's just mocked one of the greatest fighters who ever lived. And worse, much worse, he would have kept mocking anyone else who cleaned his gym, anyone else he thought was beneath him. That's the real shame settling on his shoulders now. Not that he picked on someone strong, but that he picks on people at all. Ethan doesn't say anything. He just stands there, this 42-year-old man in a janitor's uniform, while a dozen students look at him like they're seeing a ghost. Because in a way, they are. One of the students, a young guy, maybe 19, steps forward tentatively. "Mr. Cole? Sir? Is it true? Are you really the Silent Storm?" Ethan's jaw tightens. He hasn't heard that name spoken aloud in 15 years. "That was a long time ago," he says quietly. "That person doesn't exist anymore." "But the technique," the student starts. "Doesn't matter," Ethan interrupts, his voice firm but not unkind. "Technique without character is just violence. Skill without respect is just cruelty. All the championships in the world don't mean anything if you forget what it means to be human." He looks directly at Lance. "If you'd known who I was, would you have treated me differently?" Lance, still on the mat, can't meet his eyes. "That's what I thought," Ethan says. The next words cut like a blade. "But here's the real question. Would you still humiliate the next person who cleans your gym? The next person you think is beneath you?" The silence that follows is crushing, because everyone in that room knows the answer. Yes, Lance would, has, will again, unless something changes. Ethan turns to leave, to go back to his mop and bucket, to return to his invisible life. But Maya steps in front of him. "Wait," she says. "Please, I need to know something." Ethan stops. Maya's hands are shaking. Her eyes are wet. "Marcus Thompson, you're a training partner. The man who died. Can you tell me about him?" Ethan's entire body goes rigid. The pain that flashes across his face is raw, fresh, like it happened yesterday, instead of 20 years ago. "Why?" His voice is barely a whisper. Maya opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again. "Because," she says, and now tears are falling freely down her face. "Because I need to understand what happened to my uncle." The world stops. Ethan stares at her. The students stare at her. Even Lance, still on the ground, stares at her. "Your uncle?" Ethan's voice cracks on the word. Maya nods, crying openly now. "Marcus Thompson was my mother's younger brother. I was 2 years old when he died. I grew up hearing stories about him, about how talented he was, how kind he was. She takes a shaky breath. And about the man who killed him. The words hang in the air like a guillotine. Ethan takes a step back, like he's been physically struck. His face has gone ashen. Maya, he breathes. I never meant. I know, she says quickly. I've read everything. Every article. Every interview. Every statement from witnesses. I know it was an accident. I know you tried to save him. I know you held him while he died. She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. I came to this gym 3 weeks ago, and on your first day, when you walked in to start your shift, I recognized you immediately. Ethan's eyes widen. You knew? This whole time. This whole time, Maya confirms. I've been watching you, trying to understand, trying to figure out what kind of man you really are. She looks him directly in the eyes. And tonight, when you stood up, when you defended yourself, when you could have destroyed Lance but chose not to, when you showed control and mercy and wisdom. Her voice breaks. Tonight, I finally understood. My uncle didn't die because of a bad man. He died in the ring with his best friend, with someone who loved him, someone who carries that pain every single day. Ethan's knees nearly buckle. 20 years of guilt. 20 years of carrying Marcus's death like a stone around his neck. 20 years of punishing himself, hiding himself, making himself invisible because he didn't deserve to be seen. And here, now, Marcus's niece is telling him, what? Forgiveness? Understanding? I don't deserve your compassion, Ethan whispers. Maybe not, Maya says. But my uncle would want me to give it anyway. She reaches into her bag and pulls out a worn notebook, hands it to Ethan with trembling fingers. This was his training journal. My mom gave it to me when I started martial arts. I've read it 100 times. There's something in there I think you need to see. Ethan takes the journal like it might burn him, opens it with shaking hands. Maya points to a specific page, an entry dated 3 days before the accident. Ethan reads aloud, his voice breaking. Ethan's worried about the upcoming fight. I can tell. He always gets quiet when something's bothering him. But I told him today, and I'll tell him 1,000 more times, that we're brothers. Whatever happens in this life, in this sport, we chose it together. If I get hurt tomorrow, next week, next year, it won't be his fault. It'll be the risk we both accepted. I hope he remembers that. I hope he knows that I trust him with my life, because he's the best man I know. Ethan can't finish. He's crying now, tears streaming down his face, 20 years of pain finally breaking through. Maya puts a hand on his shoulder. He never blamed you, she says softly, and neither do I. The students, watching this unfold, don't say a word. Even Lance has tears in his eyes. This isn't entertainment anymore. This is real, raw, human. This is healing. Everything changes. Lance faces the consequences of his actions as video of the confrontation spreads across the internet. Ethan must decide whether to return to the world he left behind. And Maya reveals one more secret that will transform both their lives forever. In the final chapter, we'll discover what true strength really means, and whether a man haunted by his past can finally find peace. You know what's interesting about truth? It doesn't stay hidden forever. You can bury it. You can run from it. You can spend 20 years pretending it doesn't exist. But eventually, somehow, it finds its way to the surface. For Ethan Cole, truth arrived in the form of a worn training journal and a young woman's tears. For Lance Porter, truth arrived as 12 phone cameras and the entire internet. And for all of them, every single person in that gym on that Thursday night, truth arrived as a lesson they'd never forget. This is how a storm that's been silent for 2 decades finally breaks. The video hits the internet at 10:47 p.m. One of the students, a kid named Derek who has a TikTok account with decent followers, posts a 30-second clip, just a moment where Ethan sends Lance flying backward with that single palm strike. The caption, "Our gym's janitor is apparently a UFC legend face screaming in fear fire #SilentStorm #MMA #respect." Within an hour, it has 50,000 views. By morning, it's at 2 million. By the end of the week, it's everywhere. YouTube reaction videos, Reddit threads, Twitter debates. Instagram Reels, sports podcasts analyzing the technique frame by frame. But it's not just a fight that goes viral. Someone posts the longer version, the version that includes Lance's taunting, his mockery, his cruelty to someone he thought was beneath him. That context changes everything. Suddenly, this isn't just a cool fight video. This is a story about respect, about humility, about what happens when arrogance meets mastery, and about what happens when you forget that every person has a story. The comments roll in by the thousands. Imagine being that cocky and getting humbled by the janitor. This is what real martial arts looks like. Control, discipline, not ego. That instructor should be ashamed. Imagine treating people like that just because they clean for a living. The Silent Storm was my hero growing up. I can't believe he's been working as a janitor all this time. This breaks my heart. By Saturday morning, 2 days after the incident, East Side Combat Academy's phone is ringing off the hook. News outlets want interviews. Former fighters are reaching out, and parents are calling to pull their kids from Lance's classes. The storm has arrived, and it's loud. 3 days after the incident, Ethan stands in the office of Marcus Chun, the owner of East Side Combat Academy. Marcus, no relation to Thompson, just an unfortunate coincidence, is a 60-year-old former boxer who's run this gym for 23 years. He's a good man, fair, with kind eyes that have seen their share of the world hardness. Ethan, he says, leaning back in his chair, I owe you an apology. Ethan shakes his head. You didn't know. That's exactly the problem, Marcus interrupts gently. I didn't know. You've been working here for 3 weeks, and I never asked about you, never really saw you. Just handed you a mop and a paycheck. He sighs deeply. That video opened my eyes to a lot of things. Not just about who you are, but about what's been happening in my gym. The way Lance has been teaching. The culture he's created. Ethan says nothing, just listens. I've had 19 families withdraw their kids in the last 3 days. Marcus continues. Lance has resigned. And honestly, I should have seen this coming. The warning signs were all there. I just ignored them. He looks directly at Ethan. I built this gym on respect and discipline. Somehow, I let it become something else. And I'm sorry. What are you going to do? Ethan asks quietly. Marcus stands, walks to the window overlooking the training floor. It's empty now, mid-afternoon, light streaming through the windows. I want to offer you a position, he says. Head instructor, not janitor. Instructor. Ethan's breath catches. Marcus, you don't have to answer now. Take time. Think about it. But Ethan, Marcus turns to face him. That video showed me something. It showed me a man who had every right to destroy someone and chose mercy instead. That's the kind of teacher this gym needs. Ethan looks down at his hands. Hands that once held championship belts. Hands that held his best friend as he died. Hands that spent 3 weeks holding a mop. I swore I'd never fight again, he says softly. Teaching isn't fighting, Marcus replies. Teaching is helping people find their own strength, their own control. You did that for Lance in 30 seconds. Imagine what you could do with time. That evening, Ethan sits in his small studio apartment, Marcus's journal open on his lap. He's read it cover to cover now. Every entry, every training note, every personal thought his best friend wrote down in the months before his death. And throughout it all, one theme keeps appearing. Trust. Marcus trusted Ethan completely. Trusted his skill. Trusted his control. Trusted that if something happened, it wouldn't be because of negligence or carelessness. It would be because this sport, this beautiful, brutal sport they both loved, carries risk. And Marcus accepted that risk. Ethan worries too much. One entry reads, he thinks he's responsible for everyone's safety. But I chose this life. We both did. Whatever happens, I'm exactly where I want to be. Ethan closes a journal, tears streaming down his face. For 20 years, he's carried the guilt of Marcus's death like a prison sentence. But Marcus's own words are offering him something he thought he'd never receive, permission to forgive himself. There's a knock at his door. When he opens it, Maya stands there, hands in her jacket pockets, eyes uncertain. Hi, she says. Hi. Can I come in? Ethan steps aside. His apartment is sparse. A mattress, a small table, a single chair, some books stacked in the corner. Maya doesn't comment on it. She sits on the floor, and Ethan joins her. For a long moment, neither speaks. Then Maya says, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you that night. Ethan waits. I didn't just come to East Side Combat Academy randomly 3 weeks ago, she begins. I've been searching for you for 6 months. Ethan's eyes widen. Searching for me? Maya nods. After I graduated with my psychology degree, I became obsessed with understanding what happened to Uncle Marcus. Not just the accident, but everything around it. The sport, the culture, the pressure. She takes a shaky breath. I tracked down old fighters who knew you. Coaches, training partners. And everyone said the same thing. That you were the most careful, most controlled fighter they'd ever seen. That the accident haunted you. That you disappeared completely afterward. Why? Ethan asks. Why search for me? Because I needed to know if you were okay. Maya says simply. My mom, Marcus's sister. She's carried anger for 20 years. Anger at the sport. Anger at you. Anger at everything. Tears well in her eyes. But I couldn't carry it anymore. I needed to know if the man who was with my uncle when he died was the monster my mom believed, or what? Or someone who loved him. Someone who was suffering too. She wipes her eyes. I found out you were working here through an old gym contact. I applied as a student the same week you started as janitor. And I watched you, Ethan. For 3 weeks, I watched you. Ethan feels his chest tighten. And what did you see? I saw a man carrying the world on his shoulders, Maya says. I saw someone who made himself invisible because he didn't think he deserved to be seen. I saw pain in every movement, every quiet moment. She looks directly at him. And then I saw you step up when it mattered. Defend yourself. Defend me. Show control when you could have shown destruction. Her voice breaks. That's when I knew. You're not the villain in this story. You're just someone who survived something terrible and never learned how to forgive yourself. Ethan can't hold back anymore. The tears come in waves. 20 years of grief, guilt, and loneliness finally breaking free. Maya moves closer, puts a hand on his shoulder, just sits with him in his pain. Because sometimes that's all another person needs. Not solutions, not advice, just presence. After a long while, Ethan says quietly, Marcus offered me the head instructor position. Are you to take it? I don't know if I can. If I deserve to. Maya squeezes his shoulder. Uncle Marcus thought you did. He wrote it in his journal. That you'd make an incredible teacher someday because you understood the responsibility that came with skill. She pulls out her phone, pulls up a photo, and shows it to Ethan. It's an old picture. Marcus and Ethan, maybe 23 years old, arms around each other's shoulders, both grinning at the camera after a training session. Brothers. He would want you to teach, Maya says softly. He would want you to share what he loved about the sport, the discipline, the respect, the growth, not the tragedy. Ethan stares at the photo, at the young men they were, at the future they thought they had. If I do this, he says slowly, I need help. I need someone who understands the psychology of it, who can help these students not just physically, but emotionally. He looks at Maya. Would you consider being my assistant instructor? Maya's eyes widen. Then she smiles, a real, genuine smile that lights up her entire face. I would be honored. 3 months later, East Side Combat Academy looks different now. The mats are the same. The equipment is the same. But the energy, the culture, has completely transformed. Where there was once fear, there's now trust. Where there was once ego, there's now humility. Where there was once performance, there's now purpose. Ethan stands at the front of a beginner's class, 20 students sitting cross-legged before him, ages ranging from 12 to 52. All levels, all backgrounds. Before we train today, he says in that quiet, steady voice, I want to tell you what martial arts really is. The students lean in. It's not about being tough. It's not about dominating others. It's not about proving you're better than someone else. He pauses. Martial arts is about meeting yourself, your fear, your anger, your weakness, and learning how to transform into something better, something stronger. He looks around the room. Every single person in this room has a story, has struggled with something, has days where they feel invisible or overlooked or less than. His voice is gentle but firm. In this gym, we see each other. We respect each other, not because of belt color or fighting skill, but because we're human beings showing up to do the hard work of becoming better. A hand raises. It's a 50-year-old man named Robert, who just started training last week. Yes, Robert? Coach, I work as custodian at a hospital. Sometimes people treat me like I'm invisible, like I don't matter. It's hard. Ethan nods slowly. I understand that feeling. More than you know. He walks over and stands beside Robert. Can I tell this class something about you? Robert looks nervous, but nods. Robert is a veteran. Ethan says to the class. He served 2 tours overseas. He's a father of 3. He volunteers at a homeless shelter every Sunday. And he's here at 50 years old, trying something new and challenging because he believes in growth. He puts a hand on Robert's shoulder. That's courage. That's strength. And in this gym, that deserves respect. The entire class begins to clap. Robert's eyes well with tears. This is what East Side Combat Academy has become. Maya, standing at the side of the class in her instructor's uniform, watches with pride. She's teaching a psychology seminar now, helping students understand the mental and emotional aspects of training. Together, she and Ethan have created something special, something that honors Marcus's memory not by dwelling on tragedy, but by building something beautiful. After class, as students are leaving, a familiar figure appears in the doorway. Lance Porter. He looks different now, humbler, quieter. He's lost some weight, and there's a weariness in his eyes that wasn't there before. Lance. Ethan says, surprised. Coach. Lance replies, the title feeling strange in his mouth. I was hoping we could talk. They step outside, into the parking lot where it all began 3 months ago. I opened a small gym across town. Lance says, just me and a few students. Starting over. I heard. Ethan says, how's it going? Lance laughs, but there's no humor in it. Hard. Really hard. Turns out building a reputation is easy. Rebuilding one after you destroyed it, that's the real challenge. He looks at Ethan. I came here to say thank you. Ethan blinks. Thank me? You could have destroyed me that night. Physically, sure, but also publicly. You could have made me the villain in that video. Could have given interviews. Told everyone what kind of person I was. Lance's voice cracks. But you didn't. You just disappeared from the spotlight again. Let the video speak for itself. And in the comments, when people ask about me, other students have been saying that I've changed, that I'm trying to do better. He wipes his eyes. You gave me a chance at redemption I didn't deserve. Ethan is quiet for a moment, then says, everyone deserves a chance to be better. The question is whether they take it. I'm trying, Lance says. Every day I'm trying. Teaching with patience instead of ego. Seeing my students as people, not projects. It's not easy. Growth never is, Ethan replies. But it's worth it. Lance extends his hand. Maybe someday, if you're willing, you could visit my gym. Give me some pointers. Help me be the teacher I should have been. Ethan takes his hand. I'd be honored. As Lance walks away, Maya comes out to join Ethan. That was big of you, she says. He's trying, Ethan replies. That's all any of us can do. They stand together in the evening air, watching the sun set over Atlanta. I never told you what happened with my mom, Maya says suddenly. Ethan looks at her. I showed her Uncle Marcus's journal. The entries about you, about trust and brotherhood and accepting risk. Maya's voice is thick with emotion. She cried for 3 hours. Then she asked me if I could arrange a meeting with you. Ethan's heart pounds. A meeting? She wants to talk to you, to hear your side, to... Maya takes a breath. To forgive you, if you'll let her. Ethan feels his knees weaken. Marcus's sister, the woman who's hated him for 20 years, wants to forgive him. When he whispers, "Whenever you're ready." Ethan looks up at the darkening sky. Somewhere up there, he imagines Marcus watching, smiling, finally at peace. Tell her yes. Ethan says, "Tell her I'm ready." 6 months after that Thursday night, East Side Combat Academy hosts its first tournament, but it's not a traditional tournament. Instead of prizes for the best fighters, there are awards for most improved, best sportsmanship, most supportive training partner, and community service leadership. The gym is packed with families, students past and present, and members of the martial arts community who've heard about what Ethan is building here. During the opening ceremony, Ethan stands at the microphone. "I used to think strength was about winning," he says to the crowd, "about being undefeated, about never showing weakness." He pauses. "But I was wrong. Real strength is about showing up when it's hard, admitting when you're wrong, choosing mercy over vengeance, seeing the humanity in everyone, even those who hurt you." He looks at Maya, standing beside him, at Marcus Chun, beaming with pride, at Lance, sitting in the back row learning. Real strength is about building something bigger than yourself, something that honors the people we've lost by helping the people who are still here. The crowd is silent, hanging on every word. Today, we're not crowning champions. We're celebrating growth, because that's what martial arts, what life is really about. He raises a fist, not how hard you can hit, but how deeply you understand yourself when the world tries to test you. The crowd erupts in applause. After the ceremony, an older woman approaches Ethan. She's in her 60s, with kind eyes and Marcus Thompson's smile. Marcus's sister, Maya's mother. They met once before, in a quiet coffee shop 2 months ago. They talked for 4 hours, cried together, shared memories, and began the long, difficult work of healing. "Beautiful speech," she says now. "Thank you, Mrs. Chun. Please," she says, smiling gently, "call me Sarah." She looks around the gym, at the students laughing and celebrating, at the culture of respect and growth. "My brother would have loved this," she says, tears in her eyes. "He always believed martial arts should build people up, not tear them down." She takes Ethan's hand. "Thank you for carrying his dream forward, for becoming the teacher he knew you could be." Ethan can barely speak. "I'm just trying to honor his memory." "You are," Sarah says firmly. "Every day you are." As she walks away to join Maya, Ethan feels something he hasn't felt in 20 years. Peace. Not because the pain is gone, not because he's forgotten, but because he's finally learned to carry it differently, to transform it into something that helps others instead of destroying himself. That night, after everyone has gone home, Ethan stands alone in the empty gym. He walks to the center of the mat, the same spot where everything changed 6 months ago, and he speaks to the silence. "I hope I'm making you proud, Marcus. I hope wherever you are, you can see what we're building here, what Maya and I are doing in your name." He closes his eyes. "I miss you, brother, every day, but I'm not running anymore. I'm not hiding. I'm here. I'm teaching. I'm trying to be the man you always believed I was." The gym is quiet, just the hum of the air conditioning and the settling of an old building. But in that silence, Ethan swears he can feel something, a presence, a warmth, a whisper that sounds like an old friend's voice. "I'm proud of you, Storm. Keep going." Ethan smiles through his tears, and for the first time in 2 decades, the weight on his shoulders feels just a little bit lighter. The documentary premieres at a small film festival in Atlanta. It's called The Silent Storm, a story of forgiveness and redemption. And it follows Ethan's journey from janitor to instructor, explores the accident that changed his life, and shows the incredible community he's built at East Side Combat Academy. It features interviews with Maya, Sarah, Marcus Chun, former fighters who knew both Ethan and Marcus Thompson, and even Lance Porter, talking honestly about his mistakes and growth. The documentary goes on to win awards and spark conversations nationwide about respect, humility, and what true martial arts should look like. East Side Combat Academy becomes a model that other gyms begin to follow. Maya completes her master's degree in sports psychology and becomes a sought-after consultant for combat sports organizations. Lance's small gym grows slowly but steadily, built on a foundation of lessons learned the hard way. And Ethan? Ethan finally stops running. He teaches 5 days a week, mentors young fighters, speaks at schools about respect and perseverance, visits Sarah once a month for tea and stories about Marcus. He's still quiet, still humble, still carrying the memory of his best friend. But he's no longer invisible, because he's learned the most important lesson of all. Real strength isn't about how hard you can hit. It's about how deeply you understand yourself when the world tries to test you. It's about knowing when to fight and when to show mercy. It's about turning pain into purpose. And it's about understanding that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply show up for yourself, for others, for people who can't be here anymore, but will want you to keep going. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. Sometimes it whispers, like a storm that never needs to make a sound. If this story moved you, I want you to think about something. Who are the invisible people in your life? The person who serves your coffee, the one who cleans your office, the one who delivers your packages. Do you see them? Really see them? Because everyone has a story. Everyone is fighting battles you know nothing about. Everyone deserves respect, dignity, and basic human kindness. True strength isn't about power or status or how much attention you get. It's about how you treat people when no one is watching. It's about choosing kindness when cruelty would be easier. It's about building others up instead of tearing them down. So today, I challenge you. See someone. Really see them. Acknowledge them. Respect them. You never know whose life you might change with a simple act of human decency. And if you're carrying guilt, shame, or pain from your past, know this. Forgiveness is possible. Healing is possible. Redemption is possible. Not because the pain goes away, but because you learn to carry it differently. You learn to transform it into something that helps others instead of destroying yourself. That's the real lesson of the silent storm. Drop a comment below telling me what true strength means to you. And if this story touched your heart, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs this reminder today. Remember, you are not defined by your worst moment. You are defined by what you choose to do next. Stay strong, stay humble, and never forget, every person has a story worth hearing. Until next time,